That's where it gets really interesting. And we have somebody joining us today, Lisa Murphy. And Lisa is amazing. And her little I used to statement that she sent in was, I used to be someone who defined herself by her career and had no time or energy for self-improvement. But now I'm the type of person who puts personal growth first. And it's been so amazing to watch Lisa do all of this. And Nadine's going to introduce her. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and spotlight her.
Welcome, Lisa. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm great, thanks.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. Lisa and I go way back. Okay, Lisa. Well, Lisa and I go way back, as I said. We both worked in media together, and Lisa's been a huge influence on my life and the trajectory I've been on. She's a Toronto writer, a digital consultant, and a mom of two who recently started 50 Forward Club, which is an inspiring Instagram community for 50 plus women. And Steph and I are slightly under 50, but we're both kind of looking forward to turning 50 when you share your stories and all the possibilities of being a woman in her 50s, which there isn't a lot of visibility on. And I will
be excited. I'm like, almost there. Let's go.
I'm going to share Lisa's LinkedIn in the chat if anyone wants to connect with her.
And 50 Forward or 50. Yeah, the 50.
I will share 50 Forward as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
yeah,
we've got a few questions for you because Lisa's perseverance has been really great to watch, because sometimes when there's resistance that comes up, Lisa's just been so solidly just identifying it, being honest with herself about it, and then getting through it. And, you know, I tell everyone, change is never a straight line and it's never constant. Which, when you're in the middle of change, it's really frustrating though, and it can feel demoralizing. It can feel hard. So to me, it's more interesting when people have the change with ups and downs, and they're like, oh, that didn't work. Let me get back on it and go. And Lisa, the way you do that, I know has been inspiring for so many. So Nadine, do you have some questions for Lisa?
Oh, I was muted there. Yeah, of course. Lisa, talk a bit about where you were before you started Kickstartology, to the best of your memory, versus where you are now.
Yeah, well, when I started Kickstartology, it was literally kind of a year to the day, just around my birthday again. And so I was really sort of thinking that I wanted to figure out what my next career step was going to be. And I was really not in any way tuned into kind of what I wanted for me personally, because I had a super busy career, you know, a couple of teenagers, one of whom had special needs, you know, lots of other family stuff, and then lots of escapism on the weekends and good fun, which is good. But so I hadn't really focused at all on what I was looking for my whole life. And through the sort of daily homework and all of the Kickstartology lessons, I really started to kind of realize, actually, I'm not really that interested in what's next for my career. I actually need to figure out what I want out of my life as a whole. And so as a result of kind of doing the daily homework, which has just been like so incredibly key, and just kind of starting a bunch of like new habits, some of which are like only like 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day. But those things have kind of really helped me get more clarity on kind of what I want to do. And so that's kind of led me to start doing volunteer work and starting 50 Forward Club and reading nonfiction for the first time in 20 years. I mean, I've always read a lot, but now I'm kind of reading stuff that's more about who do I want to be as a person. And so, you know, it's just been really helpful. And I think as a people pleaser, I was always worried about helping other people and being an incredible employee and an incredible, you know, partner and friend. And those things are still important to me, but now I need to focus on what's going to make my life meaningful for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Steph, I'm just going to check with you because I think when we ask that question, sometimes our clients, we've mentioned it before, forget a few details. But was there anything you wanted to point out, or did Lisa cover it?
Well, the one thing I wanted to ask you was, how did you feel like, when we started, you're like, I want to know what's next in my career. And I pushed back a little and said, can we look 10 years in the future instead, actually, to get a better sense about what matters right now? And I know there was a part where almost you felt like you weren't really supposed to do that, or you weren't really allowed. Like right now, you were supposed to just focus on the career piece. And there was kind of almost a guilt at the, but what do you really want piece? It felt very uncomfortable. I'd love it if you could address that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I was kind of amazed at myself, because as sort of a writer and somebody who communicates for a living, I was astonished at how difficult it was for me to actually think about what I wanted for me in my life 10 years in the future. Like, it was almost easier to kind of think about, like, what do I want next in my career? Like, it felt very not selfish to think about what I wanted for myself, but just really hard. And I actually kind of felt quite emotional as well. Like, it was like, not only do I not know what I want, but I feel emotional about not knowing what I want, if that makes any sense. So it was, for sure, it was like a tough, and to be honest, like, I'm still figuring it out, which is what's so great about the kind of daily homework and sort of setting goals kind of month by month has kind of helped me to kind of give myself the space to figure out what I need and what I want. And it's amazing too how your vision for what you want coming up evolves, because then you kind of realize, like, I came into Kickstartology saying, like, my vision is, I'm going to be in this type of a job at this time. And it's like, now it's completely evolved, and it's more like, this is what I want to be doing as a person in my whole life, and my career is just one part of it.
There's an interesting little contradiction there that I'd love for you to address. So you said, like, you came into Kickstartology wanting to figure out what's next. You went big picture and now you're starting to explore, what do you want in life and what do you want overall? And then you said, and I'm still figuring it out, and kind of implied, like, I'm not really sure. However, what I want to point out though, is that in terms of the work you are doing, and in terms of the practical things like money and time, you actually feel much more settled, even though you know that you don't know exactly what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I've taken the time to think about what's right for me right now, and what's right for me right now is going to lead me to other things. So that has been like just a little mantra that's kind of helped me not get impatient with how long it can take to kind of, we're never going to have total clarity on what's next. But by kind of giving myself the time to agree to myself that, like, volunteer work is important to me. Doing something creative is important to me. Doing something that is kind of acknowledging kind of where 50 plus women are at is important to me, and I'm going to take time for that now. So it's really about kind of like changing up my days, and that impacts how I want to do work too, right? So it's a little rambly.
That's so to your earlier point, Lisa, like, you talked about when you were thinking about goals, you were very focused on career, which I think for a lot of people is a should. So when you started out coaching, what did you expect versus, you said some of the benefits of it, but did you go in kind of going, I'm going to solve this problem?
I mean, I kind of expected, like, I'm going to be given answers to what I need to do next. And what has emerged is that, in fact, I have to do the work to figure out what I want and how I'm going to get it. And it is kind of like, a daily commitment to do that. But what has been surprising as well is that actually it doesn't take a lot of time. In sort of 10 minutes a day, I can kind of do the morning homework and kind of get a bit more clarity. So I think, for people coming into Kickstartology thinking, like, you kind of think like it's going to be like therapy, and I'm going to be told, like, this is the way to go. And it's really been about kind of taking the time and listening and learning from other women, which has been incredible. And that it's amazing how many times you go into a Kickstartology session kind of thinking like, this doesn't apply to me. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh my God, like, even though the situation is completely different for this other woman, it's completely relevant to how I'm not showing up for myself, or how I'm not being proactive enough, or whatever, so it's been very inspiring to see and learn from what other women are doing as well.
Yeah. I agree. To me, always, like, when Steph and I started this, the community aspect and how folks in the program help each other has been the most surprising and most rewarding part of the work that we do, how everyone helps each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, it shows up in so many different ways. So thanks for sharing that and reminding us to mention it. We're talking about consistency today. So how do you stay consistent? You talked about it's a daily commitment. How do you stay consistent? And then what happens when you fall off?
Well, yeah, there's totally days where I either fall off unintentionally or I choose to take a day off. And so what I've tried to do is kind of create a bit of a ritual in the morning where, I used to be like, I'm still a news junkie, but, now before I kind of get into the news cycle, my first priority is doing a little bit of nonfiction reading. And it's really only for like 8 minutes, like just early. And then if I know that I'm going to start my day off right, if I do the sort of, 10 minutes of just morning reflection and homework. So that's kind of a non-negotiable. But then the other stuff like, so I hate working out. I love walking. I hate working out. But I had committed as one of my sort of sub goals, I'm going to work out 20 times a month. And so I was just like, okay, I know I will only do like a 15-minute free YouTube workout. I have no interest in going in a gym, no interest in doing a 30-minute workout. If you say 30-minute workout, I will not show up. So it was about kind of creating super small things, but it was Steph's idea to sort of say like, okay, why don't you say you're just going to do it 20 times a month rather than every day, because that's too inflexible. And so that's really helped me. So when I'm doing my morning kind of stuff, I'm kind of like, I've worked out 15 times this month and I've got 5 days left to do 5 more workouts. So I'm constantly reminding myself numerically of kind of, this is what I promised to do and this is where I'm at. So I'm kind of trying to keep myself consistent to that. But when I don't do it, I'm trying, like, if I just forget, it's not a good day, something else happens. I'm kind of learning to be less of an asshole to myself and kind of just say, okay, well, I didn't do it today. I've got 5 days left in the month and I'm just going to have to do it every day. And I took 3 weeks off for a recent vacation. I mean, which that alone, like I took 3 weeks off, unpaid, worth it. But I chose, I wasn't doing a workout every day during that time because I chose not to do it. I knew that when I came back in August to be like, okay, I'm just going to get back to it,
Yeah.
So it's that gentle sort of, I'm just going to get back to it, rather than you didn't do it and you suck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still, I missed a coaching session a week ago because I was kind of stressed and I just literally missed it. And afterwards was kind of like, what the hell? Like, what was I thinking? And it was just like, you know what? It's just super busy right now. And I need to cut myself some slack.
Mhm. And along with that, though, it's like that perfect balance of not being an asshole to yourself, being like, oh, okay, this is fine, keep going. But also firm with yourself when you need it too, and be like, oh, I'm not in the mood to do this, but I'm going to follow through for myself. Right. It's like that
Yeah.
push and pull piece.
Well, and just having that little at the bottom of my kind of daily homework is like, you know, this is what I've done in the last 12 months. I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. And it's just a great reminder, like, oh, wow, like all these little 5-minute little things or these 15-minute little things have added up into something I never thought I could do. So that's really motivating because you just see like, wow, like I've done this, and I'm sure there's so much more to do. But like I can be proud of what I've done and use that to keep me going on, try new things, you know?
One last thing I want to ask you about is when you started connecting to what you really wanted, big picture, and started saying it out loud to me, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll make an Instagram thing. I'm not sure where it's going. And, you know, we're not going to get into Lisa's whole plan. Don't worry. But just starting to play with something unknown at first was scary for you.
Terrifying.
And, but you did it. In fact, very, very well. And now you just keep going. So how did you do that from your point of view?
Well, you kind of forced me to. Yeah, you kind of were like, you know, just why don't you just make a goal of just launching this thing 30 days from now and just do it. And that was fantastic advice because, and then I kind of had to do it because I said I would do it by the end of the month. And I had to do it for myself to prove that I could do it. It was absolutely terrifying for me. It still is. Like every day I post, I'm just like, is this idiotic? Are people going to think I'm a goof? You know, so, and it's surprising to me how scary it is because it's like, I write for a living. Why is this such a big deal? But I think something that's been helpful is kind of some of the things in Kickstartology about, you know, just try something new, learn something new, just like keep experimenting, you know, play and feel and discover what works for you. And so that, and everything can be easy if we want it to be, like we can just choose to make it easy. So all of that kind of insights have kind of helped me at times when I've been kind of like, what am I doing? I'm very scared.
And for the record, I did not make you. You were intrigued with that approach towards the unknown.
Yes,
Decided to
yes.
take it upon yourself.
Right, yeah.
But that's, you know, fine. I forced you to do it. That amuses me. I think
I like to say that you're like a personal trainer for the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like push you just a little bit.
Yeah, it gave me the push.
Yeah.
Where it's like scary, but in a fun way. But kind of
yeah, like you know it's gonna feel good once you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nadine, any last questions?
No, that was it. Thank you, Lisa, so much. It's
Thank you so much, Lisa. Really
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Take it easy.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye.